Okay, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. And this week, I'm gladly joined by Ben Church, who's been here before. So welcome back, Ben.
Hi, thanks for having me, all right?
Very, very good episode last time. People were very happy with your input and wanted to hear more of your Swans knowledge. So we're happy to have you back, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come. So we're going to hear all Ben's thoughts today on the transfer window we've just had. And obviously, Lee is back, as always, to join me once again. Not bored of me yet, so...
No, not yet.
Not yet. To be fair, Lee's like my person at ground level. He's always there at all the home games. Obviously, with me working, sometimes I can't always get there. So, always great to have Lee's input because he sees it all with his eyes. So, he keeps me in check then because obviously, might not see everything personally. But yeah, cheers, lads, for joining me. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to look at the transfer window in a bit of detail. We're going to rank all the transfers, a combination of what we think their potential could be and what we've seen so far. We'll go from there. But before we get to that, obviously, we've got the game against Bristol City to discuss. We can't skip over that after what we saw last week, which was a bit of a disappointment after what was a very positive evening the night before. So no better way to get started, I guess, than to get stuck into that. So last week on the pitch then, Swansea were home against, I guess, what would you say, mini rivals, second rivals? How would you pitch them these days? Bristol City. Second rivals, yeah. It's like the warm-up, right. Wasn't it? It was like the warm-up.
It seems to be like the last couple of seasons we played Bristol and Cardiff back-to-back.
I don't know who thinks that's a good idea. But we didn't get the better of them this time, of course, and they came down here, and although we took a 1-goal early lead, courtesy of Liam Cullen, we actually lost 2-1, which was very disappointing, actually, and I'm sure a lot of people had a lot to say after the game. So, Lee, I'm going to come to you first, because we were going to do a Twitter space after it, but we couldn't manage to get it to work, and I know Lee had a lot to say if that did happen. So, where do you want to start with this one?
Yeah, probably for the best that we didn't talk about it after the game, because the emotions are running high, and they, especially after a performance like that. I just think it was comfortably the worst performance of the season so far. Worst performance I've seen in ages at home. I think, like you said, we had such a good window the night before. I was fully expecting, right, this is going to be the start of the season now, and when you've got 4 new players waiting to come in, you think I might give some of the players a kick to keep their space. And, there was some really, really poor individual performances, which we can come on to later. And we were just well beaten. I think 2-1 was probably, did us a favour because they had so many chances. Bristol City, they were cutting us open. I've never seen us defend so poorly. It was just really disappointing overall, really. So, I don't know what else you boys thought of it, but it was awful.
It's good to compare sometimes, because I mentioned at the start, I don't know if I can't get to all of the games, but I'll try and either watch it any way I can, or usually if I'm working, get away to listen on the radio. So it's good to compare sometimes, like what you were seeing visually with what I'm hearing on the radio through the commentary. And from what I gather, I could have been 4-1 down by half time, and it was quite surprising we managed to hold on to a lead going into half time. So Ben, I'm not sure where you stand on it, but
I mean, we were fortunate, I think, is the best way we can put it. They put the ball in the net 3 times before half time, I believe. I didn't want to watch anything back, so I don't know if any of them should have stood or not. This maybe not best not to think about it, but like Lee said, could have been 4-1, I think, would have been fair across the 90 minutes. We certainly didn't deserve to score another one. We hardly really threatened them. There's a Cabango at the post once from a cross. That was about it. I mean, we'll talk about more about the subs and what have you later, but you stick on a target, man. I think he touched the ball in the box maybe once in a good half-hour spell. It was crazy, really. No real idea what we were actually trying to do.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying about the game plan is not really showing itself yet. I guess we'll talk about all of that. I was very frustrated because I planned my lunch around watching or listening to the game, and it was quite warm, I think, on the day. I went and sat in my car to try and listen on the radio because, again, the local feed's quite tricky, and didn't make my rest of the shift very enjoyable, that's for sure. Managed to go in. One of the colleagues is a Cardiff fan, so he's over the headset to me as soon as the tide had turned, let's say, and was like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" Obviously, I was able to repay that later in the day, after he was very boisterous, going 1-0 up against Ipswich, and that came back to bite him. So, be interesting week next week, that's for sure. But yeah, so let's have a look at some of maybe what's going on the pitch. I'm not going to talk so much about the individual aspects of this game, but the one thing I do want to pull out from it is Charlie Patino, and his assist for Liam Cullen was top draw, I think. Very good ball. Reminds me of not the same sort of player, but a sort of ball you'd see someone like Pablo Hernandez playing back in the day. Especially that one against Cardiff for Routledge, very reminiscent, but a good ball for Cullen to run onto, and a good finish actually to the inside post. But 3 assists in 4 appearances for Patino. So how impressed have you been with his impact in midfield and his squad? Lee, if we come to you first.
Yeah, I think I said on the last video we did, I think he looks like the real deal when I've seen him play. I think when he came on against West Brom in his first game, he was everywhere, and he's putting balls into the box, causing havoc. Like, I think he assisted the 2 goals there as well. He put the ball in the box for both goals really. But then he's just been brilliant. He looks like he's everywhere in midfield. He's putting balls through like that one to Cullen. And I think he's looked class. He's looked like he's a cut above really in the Championship. But then it begs the question why is he not fit, because he keeps bringing him off quite early, I think. So because I think he looks class, but he keeps bringing him off early.
Anything to add to that, Ben?
Well, yeah, to reiterate, they're getting subbed early. I think anyone who watched the game, everyone was calling for Ollie Cooper to come off at half-time. Like, Ollie Cooper's a player I love, but just way off the pace in this game for some reason. Heavy touch, I think he wasn't getting his head up. It weren't even so much getting tackled. He was literally just running into the opposition players. It was quite strange to watch at times. Like Patino, like you say, technically definitely a cut above the league. I think physically maybe not, in the sense I saw him track back. It's not he weren't trying, but he was a full pace and he was getting nowhere near some of their ball carriers. So maybe that's what Michael Duff was thinking. But if he's fit, he needs to stay on. Like, I feel like him and Grimes, they haven't possibly figured out how to play with each other perfectly yet. But when that clicks, that's 2 top end level midfielders we have there.
Yeah, I think fitness is the issue, because if you look at the season so far, Ashby's had similar treatment, getting subbed in every league game, I think, coming in on loan as well. I'm wondering if both players came in, they're younger and they haven't had the full pre-season under Duff. I know others haven't either, but it would signal to me it's probably a fitness thing, because he probably wants to start him every game, such as his impact, where maybe he just can't quite do a full 90 minutes. But I mean, until we confirm that, it's just speculation, but that's what I would assume anyway. And obviously midfield, he's been quite box to box, hasn't he? So it's probably quite demanding on what he's having to output, especially in this style, which we'll go on to talk about next, which is meant to be, from what he's spoken about, quite intense and high press and stuff, but maybe we're not quite seeing all of that yet. I guess that's a good transition. What do you reckon of the style? And Ben, you already mentioned it a little bit, not quite sure what's been shown.
I mean, for once, I'm literally stumped. As in, if we're going purely off that one game, right, I don't know what the game plan was. After watching 90 minutes, there was a shift of formation 3 times, 5 subs, what have you. At least normally when we lose, I can see what they wanted to happen but didn't come off. I literally do not know, right, how are we going to break them down? How are we going to defend? How are we going to transition one way? How are we going to transition the other way? Sorry to give such a short answer, but that is the truth. It was a hopeless 90 minutes.
I think to kind of discuss, fair. But I think that game worried me more than any of the others, really, because I thought in any other ones we played, not great, but in some games I thought we played all right. We looked tidy in some patches of the other games, but that was awful. And like Ben said, I couldn't really pick out what the game plan was. In the 2 cup games, you kind of reverted back to what we saw like under Russell Martin, with like Norton in the middle of the 3 and sort of trying to play out from there. And then I don't know if that was his thinking to sort of go back there, because I thought they played quite well against Bournemouth and Northampton as well. So I don't know if that was his thinking, because he seemed to go with that. Then that seemed to go pear-shaped, and then, like Ben said, he changed it a couple of times, and then I had no idea what was going on. So that one was a bit worrying, because it seemed to me and to a lot of other people that he didn't actually have an idea how to turn that game, because they were all over the place, and I don't think he knew how to change it.
Do you think the players are maybe not responding to him? I tell you what I think it might be actually, and on to the question I just asked. Not responding to him, maybe not so much that, but part of Russell Martin's last 2 years embedded in a team, and they're struggling to adapt. So it might come across as they're not responding, but the mentality of just keep the ball and pass back, and they're not maybe looking forward when Duff wants them to. And I've seen him visibly be frustrated at players a few times for that, including at Mac Grimes. But I guess it's when you've been trained to play a certain way for so long. It is only 5 games into this new system in the league. Do you think it's a little bit of that?
Possibly, yeah. I think, like you say, there probably was more of a game plan, maybe to get behind them at the start, as you saw by the first goal. But then as soon as we started struggling, it was, a lot slower, like Russell Martin, around the back, like Russell Martin, and the crowd starts getting on people. But also, like you saw when a couple of subs were coming on and they were switching from a 5 to a 4, what have you. I've got this written down. I'm pretty sure it was like 3-5-2 at the start. Ashby came off, Janelli came on, and it's like a 4-3-3 almost. Then one of the, there's so many subs, it's hard to keep track of what happened, but then we ended up in a 4-2-2. We're going switching number of defenders, we're going wide, we're going narrow again. They were screaming at each other, just trying to understand what formation they're meant to play. But also, that's 3 different formations with 5 games into the year. Were they really confident enough to play each of those systems? Do you know what I mean? They haven't had much time to do that.
Yeah, and that's what I was worrying. It seemed like it was chaos. It was just reactive rather than we're playing this style and we're going with it. It was just reactive. It was like, right, we're all over the place now. We'll do this. Oh, that's still not working. We'll do this. That's still not working. We'll try that. So that's what was worrying. But I think, like, going back to what you said about like Russell Martin, I think we saw it at the start of like Russell Martin's tenure as well. Because I remember when we played like Bristol City away, I think Russell Martin said something like he was frustrated because they didn't actually play the way he wanted to play. They sort of reverted. They went 1-0 up and then they reverted back to sort of like the way they were under Cooper to get the 1-0 win. And he sort of openly said like that's not the way he wants them to play, but he was happy with the win. Maybe we're sort of seeing something similar where when they are up against it, naturally, because they've played that way, they revert back to, right, let's just keep the ball. Let's just try and stem the flow. And obviously it's just being against what Duff's trying to do, but like it is going to take time. We'll come on to it with so many new signings, new management. It's going to take a while to see what he actually wants to do, but we didn't see any of it in that game.
I guess to sort of add on to what you've just said, Lee, it probably is a case of Russell Martin's system ingrained in a lot of the players that are on the pitch. So they've gone 1-0 up, and to protect that, they've kind of gone this way. Okay, this is what we normally do. We would slow it down, let the other team come on to us, and then try and exploit the spaces in behind. And that would work. I guess that's Russell Martin's style of play. So that's what he would want them to do. But not everyone on the pitch was there last year. It's about half and half, I would say, from the starting team. So you might have half of the team thinking this way, and then the other half of the team not so much because they're only known Duff's way. And maybe that imbalance of thought is what's causing problems because they're not all on the same wavelength. That causes a confusion, maybe puts them under more pressure because when the teams are coming onto them then, and what seemed to be a theme of the first half at least was us giving the ball away all the time in our own half and like making our own mistakes and causing our own pressure. But it could be the sort of difference in the people who are used to the old way and want to just protect the ball and protect the lead to the guys coming in, right, no, he wants us to keep pushing on, and doing this. And that affects like maybe your positioning and how you're offering to support your other players when one of them's happy to come deep, protect the ball, keep it safe, and the other one's trying to go forward and make more of a press in run and be a little bit more direct. And I guess that conflict between if you've got half the team one way, half the team the other way, that's always going to cause an issue. And as soon as a team like Bristol, who are primarily counter-attacking, get a sniff of, I guess, putting the pressure on, they definitely put the gas on and kept it up. I don't know how Naki Wells didn't score, at least in the first half.
Just to add on to what you said, here's the worrying thing, right? I feel like we're making more mistakes with less possession and less passes completed.
Yeah.
Genuinely, some of them, like we haven't really been punished on them, honestly. Like I know we have conceded from 1 or 2 goal kicks, but there's some this season. I feel like we've been losing by 1 goal a fair bit, and we've been fortunate to be losing by 1 goal a fair bit. Because it could have easily been 4-1 on the weekend. Didn't watch the Preston game, but I know home games before. It's it needs to be stamped out. I think if there are some players who are like holding out on him a bit and still reverting back to what we've done before, you have just got to give them the chance and try and buy into it. Because if half of people are thinking one way, half of people are thinking the other way, it's never going to work regardless of whether you're right or wrong.
And it's down to the manager to stamp that out, and it is only going to take time. And we should put a massive disclaimer before this entire conversation, really. Like, I know if you go on Twitter or any social media, really, it's been quite negative. It has been getting to the stage of being borderline toxic, I would say, with some of the negativity coming around Duff now since he's come here. But you are only 5 league games into the season, into the new style of play. It's still very early days to decide that it's not going to work. And it is, if it doesn't get off to a good start, it makes it harder for all of the players to then adapt to the new style. Other than maybe getting the win on the board for the first game or the second game, it just changes that mentality. You just feel that more comfortable instantly just because you got that 3 points, I think. I mean, I've never been in that situation on the pitch under that sort of pressure, but I think it's quite obvious that would be the case. Like, a win builds momentum at the end of the day. That's why people were saying it's so important to win this game going into the Cardiff match. You're going to go into that now looking for your first win, and that's another conversation entirely. But I think people need to calm down a little bit. It is still very, very early. And if you want to make the comparisons, because people have been making a lot of comparisons with Duff and Martin, let's have a look at Martin's first however many games as manager. It was literally the same. And let's have a look at Martin's time this year from January to March/April, where he had a really bad run, a lot worse than this. We're only 5 games into this. It could get there, don't get me wrong, could. But, he had time, he addressed it, and all of a sudden we were flying, and then people seem to have forgotten about that, and he's like the saint. Excuse the pun on his new team. But you know what I mean? Like, things can change quickly, and it might just take a win against Cardiff, and all of a sudden it just clicks. You don't know. It's an international break now. We've got 2 weeks with the full squad, and as Lee mentioned, a lot of changes. There's been 13 players coming into the team. I think it's said quite often in football, like, too many changes isn't always a good thing, and it can take time to embed that, especially with a new manager. He also had a slow start at Barnsley last season, so it's not like it wasn't expected. We were warned of it. We were warned of it by the fan that came on the podcast earlier when he was announced. He said you probably have a slow start, but by Christmas you'll kind of see what's going on. So 5 games into the season, just got into September. It's too early to be calling for his head. That's what I'm saying. But it doesn't mean you can't call out the issues.
I guess, like, it's managing our expectations. Like, do we see ourselves as a top 6 team? I'd probably say for myself, I probably don't think we're anywhere near that yet. Not with the level of teams that are there at the moment. So I think, do we? And I'll hold my hand up. I mean, after that game, I was livid because I thought, it was that bad. Like I said, good thing we didn't come on after. But now I've had time to digest it. It's just like, let's give it a bit of time. It is going to take. No, we got new players to come in. Let's give the bloke a bit of time. I couldn't believe the level of, like you said, the level of toxicity I saw on Twitter. It was, calling for his head already.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we are looking. We're into September now without a win. We've got 3 massive games coming up next. I mean, Cardiff, obviously, and then you've got QPR away, arguably like going to be in and around probably the bottom 6, I would say. And then Sheffield Wednesday at home are definitely going to be down there. So I think the next 3 games, we've got to see massive improvement in the next 3 games. Or I think it's only going to get worse. But see what he's got when the new squad, when all the new players come into the squad.
Have you got anything about the game you'd like to mention before we move on, Ben?
Bristol City game. I reckon he needs to stick with one shape and just run with it for 90 minutes at this stage of the season. And please play Charlie Bettino for 90 minutes if he's physically capable of doing so.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people will agree with that.
Before we move on as well, I know we can say we could say a lot of things about Duff and how bad it was, and rightly so, and we've said it, but there was some awful individual performances, like Wood as a standout. I don't know what he was doing. He made so many mistakes.
I think he was dreaming the night before.
Yeah.
But I was expecting, Ben said about Ollie Cooper earlier. I thought he was awful as well. He gave the ball away so much, which was unlike him. Ashby as well was poor. There were so many bad individual performances. I don't know if, as well on that, I don't know if like Joe Allen is pushing for a start. Maybe not sure what the plan is there because he seems like he played well against Bournemouth. I know he can't play probably
You play
2
in
games in a week.
derby, don't you? You've got to.
I think so. I think so.
I think he's a sort of away from home. The lineup I got was Ollie Cooper starting because he's more of a forward thinking midfielder. No, I'm not saying I agree, but like he starts him at home thinking I'll go more on the attack, and when you go away, he's playing like a Fulton or an Allen in that role to be a little bit more reserved. That's what I've noticed as a trend.
Yeah, it makes sense as well. Because at home, you probably want to have more of the ball than you would away from home, and that saves Ollie Cooper. Because as soon as he has a couple of yards in front of him, he'll carry it when he away from home. Yeah, when you got set in shape, I don't think he is necessarily that sort of player. I think he will come good, mine, because if we do start to see his counter-pressing style implemented eventually, that is Ollie Cooper, isn't it? Of course it is. But I think him and Yates and Cullen will do that well, but it's just needs a bit of time, I think.
I do think as well, like it's just stuff that keeps coming back to me, and I was thinking about the game. I think I noticed more now what Perot did as well, because I think I didn't see Yates in that game whatsoever. I just don't think he can get the service. And I think Perot was so good at just coming back and popping up and picking up the ball in those like sort of final third positions. Whereas I was guilty of it. I was thinking he was so quiet in games, but I think it was noticeable that he wasn't there, especially against Bristol City, because he was that middleman between like the midfield and Yates up top. So I don't know what you boys think, but I thought it was a bit more noticeable that he was missing there.
I wonder if he's got a reputation around him as well now where he draws defenders in because they know what he's done.
Well, he was creating space, wasn't he? Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
I was just going to say, I agree with what Lee said. I think it's going to take a few games now. Perot, when you think Perot was a bit like Grimes last couple of years, he was never really dropped, was he? So all of a sudden, you got your focal point, your goal getter. He was a part of the build-up and he finished it off. So suddenly take that away. You probably need to give him a bit of time. Somebody else needs to take over that role, I think. Going forward now, Grimes and Bettino, they need to play on different lines to each other when we have the ball, definitely. They can't both be deep. Because otherwise, I don't think we're not going to break the lines in the final third.
Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't even mind if his Grimes steps a bit further forward. He's done it in the past. But we've not really seen too much of it since he's been ever present in Swansea's lineup. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention, not really in too much detail, but the Bournemouth game obviously happened as well in the Cup. We did lose 3-2 after going ahead against the Premier League team. And we nearly got to penalties as well, to be fair. So we did push them quite far. I don't think anyone was really too disappointed with that game. And I think there was a lot on display to show where this could be going, more so in the Bournemouth game than there was in the Bristol game. Maybe we didn't have the most amount of shots, but you're up against quite a strong Bournemouth team. They spent over 100 million this season. I was surprised to hear that. Caught up with, Cherry's Red Army on the pre-match video, and they also complimented us on our style of play. I popped into their post-match discussion, and they were saying like if we carry on playing what they saw in that game, then we're in a bit of a false position in the league. That's what they said, Premier League teams, fans at the moment, and from what they saw from that game. Now, it seems a bit hit and miss from match to match, but you said Joe Allen started in that game. I think Giannelli looked quite good in that game as well. So it's not all maybe doom and gloom. I think when maybe things get tough, it's not quite worked and the player's not sure where to turn. Maybe there's less pressure on a cup game like against Bournemouth. You're already expected to lose and go out to the round to the Premier League team. Maybe they played with a bit less pressure and they were able to actually do what they've been told that week and play to the game plan a bit more. When the going got tough against Bristol, kind of went out the window and they couldn't manage it. But yeah, I don't know what you think about the Bournemouth game. Any pickups from that, Lee?
No, like you said, I think like Joe Allen for me stand out. He was brilliant in that Bournemouth game. So I don't know. I think Ben might be right that he might get a start in the derby. I don't know. It just seems like we just seem a different team when he's in there. We know his quality. We know he's a great player, but we do seem like a totally different team, especially coming from that. Maybe he can release Patino a bit more, release Grimes a bit more. I don't know, but I think that's been a standout from that Bournemouth game. I thought they played really well, and I think it's probably boosted by the fact that players probably got a lot of confidence in Joe Allen being in there, and another leader on the pitch when it gets tough.
Ben, anything from Bournemouth?
Oh yeah, I think it was good enough over the 90 minutes. You don't expect to do as well as we did against Premier League opposition. I think it was a classic case of though they dropped probably like 3 or 4 of the better players and then brought them on second half, and then when they did, we got overwhelmed. And I'm not having a go at us for that. I think we hung on in there. So I think it would have been unjust if it got to pens. Like chance creation wise, we didn't match them at all, but then you're not expected to. So yeah, cup game though, yeah, I'm not going to take like too many positives from it because it is a cup game. It's midweek, half-empty stadium, probably the cup competition which people care less about as well. So I'm not really sure it's going to be a true reflection of how we'll be in the league, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
That's fair. Good shout out. I want to give a shout out to Jamie Patterson's goal. It was pretty nice to see. Highlight of that game for the Swans fans. But hopefully
I thought he was
more of that.
I thought he was going after that because he didn't really celebrate today. He's a bit of a muted celebration, and it was before the window shut. So I was thinking, it looks like he might be on his way, but then he didn't go in the end.
On his way to Mumbles to get a nice bit of grub down him.
He has been one bright spark, I would say. Like little cameos he had. He's probably been the one looking to make something happen more than anyone.
Be good if he can get back up to speed that he was, in his first season. If we can get that back out of him, because he could be an asset then. It's just a shame we haven't seen that for a while. But that was a kind of glimpse, that goal, taking that effort on. It was kind of he didn't really have a right to score from there, but sometimes when you take the chance, it goes in. So it was nice to see. Yeah, okay, let's move on then. So next week on the pitch, not going to spend too long here because it's international break, but one key thing I wanted to mention, as we record in now, it's on Thursday the 7th, and Wales have probably already kicked off against South Korea.
No.
But it was just interesting to see Liam Cullen didn't make the matchday squad. I was just wondering what your thoughts on this are, Ben.
Well, I mean, you look at the players who are in the squad. I know Hennessy hasn't made the 23-man squad for tonight's game, but he called up 4 keepers. Why? There's no need. Lockyer, but he's dropped out through injuries. That's fair enough. But you look at, I want to pick up on the midfielders as well, to be honest. Like Sheehan, Swansea grad actually, but then he's at Bolton in League One. I'm not sure he's at a higher level, and some of the midfielders have missed out. Ollie Cooper's missed out. Colwell's missed out. He's 28. Disappointing Josh Sheehan. He's going to be gone in a few years anyway. The boys who missed out were all 22, 23, 21. Now was the time to bring them in and give them minutes. You look at the team he's named tonight, apart from Ramsey on the bench, Jordan James, he's gone full strength for a friendly. And last night, even in the press conference, saying, I can't be bothered to play it, to be honest. Then he said that was his strongest team. The mind boggles, in all honesty. Cullen, if you look at the forward players, I can understand why Cullen's the one who didn't make the squad tonight. So you got Kiefer Moore, Broadhead, Johnson, Brooks, Bradshaw. In my opinion, they are all ahead of him. Harry Wilson as well. So from that respect, then it's a case of there are some players in that 25 that should not be in that 25. Even, Ryan Hedges of Blackburn. Why isn't he there? He's playing championship football regularly, playing to a decent standard.
Another Swans grad.
I know, and I know it's a slightly different position, but Joe Morrell, I know he's been part of the team when we were at our strongest, but I'm not sure there's some players there who are at the standard to justify still being included, and we do have more depth than people realise.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I thought it was weird when Johnny Williams got called up in the World Cup, for instance. Another example of what you were saying about the lower league midfielders. Why are you calling up someone? I know the experience in that case, but I don't agree with it. When you've got players who are consistently playing at a higher level to go to the biggest tournament that you're going to go to.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ben hit the nail on the head there. I think, especially in a friendly, you've got to try some of these players. I think there is enough quality there. Like you said, there's some good championship players there that can come in and make an impact. But I know every manager's got his favourites and his go-tos, but especially in international football, you've got to move on pretty quickly. I mean, I'd love to see some new faces get a run out, especially in a friendly that he didn't want to play, like he said. So I don't understand the decision at all, to be honest.
It's a shame.
I tell you what, though, going back to the Bournemouth game, I thought David Brooks looked class, and he scored again on the weekend, and he looks like he's getting back up to sharpness. Just a positive.
Yeah, that's positive. Fair play to him coming back from obviously his illness.
Yeah.
Hopefully he can get back to the heights he was at before. I was going to say it's a shame that Cabango couldn't get on a pitch instead of Mefam, because you'd have 4 out of 5 of the back four being Swans Academy graduates, which would have been a nice thing to see. Okay, so someone we could squeeze in to replace Nico Williams anytime soon? There's is Azim Abdullahi? Is he going to sneak into the Welsh squad one day? Does he qualify?
There's Rashisha qualifies, isn't he, for Wales?
Reading's that now, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, so maybe get a call up at some time random.
I think Abdullah is very much sticking with Scotland based off the fact he was in the youth squad, isn't he?
I didn't know. Apparently Abdullah is from Bahrain. Well, that's what his nationality's down as on SofaScore. Wasn't expecting that. It's probably one of them where, like, I don't know, maybe
one parent's the other, maybe.
Yeah. I actually want to know where he was born now. Let's have a look. Go, Glasgow. It's definitely like Bahrain up there.
Let's see if he's got a Welsh grandmother somewhere floating around.
Yeah, down as British on Wikipedia, so maybe he's just like family or something. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Going forward, the last thing on the Wales game, I did notice though, South Korea have named 2 more players on a subs bench. So why didn't we fully utilise the subs bench if there's 2 more slots?
In a friendly, surely there's not like a cap, or is there? Like,
just chuck everyone there then.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
if you'd taken them to training,
yeah,
and then you could play like flip a coin with the 3 goalkeepers and say whichever one, or play rock paper scissors, and if you win, you're going on second half.
Stick me on the bench.
Did you find it weird Hennessy was one who weren't included though? Hennessy, Ward, Adam Davis, Tom King, and Hennessy's the one who's not there.
That's like Hennessy in the movie 1, but why call him up then?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because like there is one in the under-21s who people seem to rate for the future. So why are you calling up 4 keepers and not calling up him? Or are they trying to qualify the under-21s? Like I don't know. It's just
so much Rob Page
going on exactly. Like I know a lot of people saying give him time, but for me,
he's not enough time. How much time does he want?
There's nothing being built. He's just carrying on playing the same old players that are going to regress in the years to come.
I can't see us qualifying for these Euros either. I don't want to dampen it, but it's just we needed some big. We had the big result, didn't we, away at Croatia, and then it seems that we've like undone that hard work now.
It was in our hands. It's a shame Germany as well. Be a hell of a trip.
Yeah, it would have been in class.
Still possible, but you're looking at Croatia. You probably think you need to draw again in the reverse, and you may well need to win every other game apart from that. Depending on how well, even Armenia. It's Armenia, they're in a strong position in the group. They shouldn't be, but they are.
It's poor, honestly. The World Cup was like a farewell, thank you parade for all the old players, and even putting Gareth Bale in that. I know you can't not play him, but address it when he's not having a good game, at least. And I just think Page is. They should have reappointed someone after the whole thing with Giggs. They should, at least after the World Cup, they should have been, right, we need a fresh start here. We need to get someone in that's going to build something. I don't know what he did to deserve to be put in that job full time. I really don't, because I haven't really enjoyed watching Wales since Giggs took over, but it's progressively got worse. Like ever since, basically, with Page, I think it's just not very good at the moment. But
I mean, he was landed to be there on circumstance when he Page. And I think the FA probably panicked in that. Imagine not giving a contract to someone who's just taking us to our first World Cup since the 50s. But then, why a 4-year deal? That's what I find.
Yeah. It's baffling.
2 years.
But you've just got Wales have been in the best position that they've ever been in recent memory, internationally. Or let's say best position they've ever been in while the game has been at such a professional level. Yeah. Don't tell me you could not have found a capable manager that would have taken that job, especially after like 2016. Even when they took Ryan Giggs on, they wanted to keep it in-house as a Welsh manager for the Welsh team. I don't know if that's the best solution.
I think because of the way we sort of like function with football, I think it's gone it's going a bit political now. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and I get it. They want to keep it in because it's nice and all that. But is that the best route to success? I don't. And when Wales is like quite a small pool of people probably to choose from. Like, who are the top Welsh managers that are going to go and take that job? So you take a punt on someone like Giggs, who hasn't really had a job before. So you don't know what he's going to do. And then you take in Page because he was his number 2. Like, if you're going to keep that system of in-house Welsh managers, who are you going to get next?
The job had Nathan Jones written all over. I'm not going
Yeah, I was just going to say Nathan Jones.
Like,
I think it's
okay,
got to be.
that would make a bit more sense. But what I'm trying to say is, are we making the best decision by reducing our options like that? I think you could get somebody that's got some good credentials in that role that would actually mean that we got to this stage where Wales is actually a threat on international football for the first time in a while, and you could maintain that. But I feel like we're going the other way.
I think normally you'd be right, but I honestly do think Nathan Jones, I think he's more, same with Steve Cooper, actually. I think they could be more suited to international management than they are league in that.
Yeah.
I get, for example, now Southgate's apparently going with England in a year or two after the next tournament. They're getting Guardiola in. Guardiola would be awful international manager. That's not because Guardiola's the best manager of all time, but when he signs a player, it takes a year, a full season, a full year of training, full year of matches before they get up to speed. Grealish was awful last year or the year before. Now all of a sudden he's up there again. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like these tactical geniuses, they don't work in international management. International management, you get the basics right, you motivate the players right, and you get the simple things right. You get like Southgate nearly won a World Cup off set pieces. Like it's so yeah, Nathan Jones, Cooper. There will be more come through over the years. I think there's enough talent in the Welsh talent pool, like the Welsh FA coaching courses. They're some of the best in the world. You have Henri, Arteta, these
that's fair.
People with high ambition.
Yeah.
And
loads of them have done it, haven't they, through Wales?
We turned down our own candidates to take these people because it hires our, reputation, but it goes to show how good the course is. The other one's Ocean Roberts, and he's out of a job.
Like, he always gets floated around, doesn't he?
There's so many
I would
options.
have been okay with Nathan Jones. I think Steve Cooper would do a good job as well.
I think you're
why
right.
Take
I think
a punt
Cooper,
with someone like Giggs and Page is what I'm trying to say. And
I think Giggs was the fantasy choice, wasn't he? I think I think he was the big name, wasn't he? To get sort of bring people back in. I don't know. I think I like that it's a Welsh manager though. I think if we do have the option of doing it, like I think I'd rather it be a Welsh manager. Like I think, like you said though, Cooper for me, when I was thinking Nathan Jones, I forgot about Steve Cooper. I think he'd be so good at international management.
Well, he's done
just
it
make
before,
a team hard to beat. Just take exactly. You want a World Cup with England in 21, so he's perfect for it. I think one day I'd love to see him manage Wales if that was in the pipeline. I'd love to see it.
I don't dislike the idea of a Welsh manager managing Wales. I just don't also want it to be at the detriment of the performance and the results of the team and competitions. If you're going to get, if the most best available Welsh manager is not good enough, then don't give him the job. That's the way I see it. If it is a Cooper or a Nathan Jones, but maybe they don't want to do it. Maybe they don't want to go international. They're happy where they are. So, but then there's not an abundance of it. Like England even has got more options, is what I'm saying. If you've got an English manager to manage England, but this I'm sure there'd be far more debate about that.
I think Ben was right though. I think it's gone quite political, isn't it? And I think it will be a Welsh. I don't mind it. I think I'm happy for it to be a Welsh manager.
Yeah, same.
Okay, let's move on then. Let's go to round up the, and this is only going to take a couple of minutes, 2 up, 2 down on the Championship, and then we're going to move on to the transfer window ranking. So quickly then, across the league and the Championship, it's been an interesting week. So our 2 up this week are Preston, who we recently played. You remember, we narrowly lost out on 2-1. Gone top of the league with their result this week, where my page is refreshing. Anyone recall their result before I get it up? I did have it in front of me.
Stoke 2-0.
Yeah, Stoke 2-0. So fair play. Look, again, maybe it's a little bit of perspective on our results, because Birmingham are in 4th. They're a team we played recently also, and Bristol are actually in 8th now after their win against us. We played quite a few teams that are doing well and narrowly lost. Now, each game was individual, I know that, and Birmingham was a draw. But it's maybe not that far away, a lot to work on. But Preston, top of the league, we lost 2-1, went ahead in that game. So
we probably could have won that game as well. We played all right in that Preston game. We conceded 2 poor goals there, so it does put it into perspective, because we should have been 2-0 up at half time there, and that was probably that could have been the kick on. But Yeah, it's been fun. That's the championship for you, though. I
But that's
really know
how fine
best
the
them.
line can be, is what I'm saying.
yeah.
So everyone obviously going so in detail about what's going wrong at the moment. There's a fine line there of how that could have changed. Again, doesn't mean you can't criticise, but just putting that out there. The other one is Huddersfield. We have bashed them a bit on the podcast, expecting them to maybe be in a relegation fight, but they got their first win this week. Takes them out of relegation zone. They're on 4 points, and that brings me on to the first down, which is Swans Wednesday and Middlesbrough, who remain winless, of course. We have 2 points out of the three of us. The other two are on 1, but it's all not the best for us three down here at the moment. I think Middlesbrough are the ones that are... It's weird to see because they had a really good season last year and they looked like they were maybe going to kick on, but they're really struggling at the moment.
They've lost some key players and maybe not replaced them, haven't they?
The goals, especially.
Chuparak from Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
Not the Aaron Ramsey that most people probably think I'm on about. Should point that out. But yeah.
Could you argue he's the better Aaron Ramsey currently, based on age and form?
I'm not going to pretend to have watched enough of Barrow last year to know if I'm honest. So, and I know for a fact there'll be some Cardiff fans in my mentions again if I say a certain answer. So
they're going to ride off that goal he scored the other day for the rest of the season.
Oh, it was an absolute belter he scored against Leicester, man.
Yeah, well, there we go. Enough about them. We've got them coming, right? Let's not give them any more confidence than they already need. And Sheffield Wednesday, I mean, I was maybe expecting them to struggle a bit, but I guess the change of managers really, really costing them. Not what we want after a promotion.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we've got Sheffield Wednesday, and we in 3 games. We've got Cardiff, QPR, and then Sheffield Wednesday home.
Yeah.
It's becoming a massive one.
It's not must win because of how early we are, but if we lose that, it'll be very toxic at the end. Say we lose that 2-0.
Yeah.
Very bad.
The other one is Southampton. I've just put Southampton because everyone likes to remind us, we posted that video of Russell Martin's comments on our transfer policy the other day, and we spoke about that in the last podcast. Had a lot of people arguing with us saying that we were wrong and the club didn't back Russell Martin, and people just everywhere seem to be going nuts about the fact that Russell Martin's not here anymore. The style of play is gone. There's no identity. Swansea's finished. It's so doom and gloom from some of these Russell Martin fans. Fair enough if you like the manager, but he's just going to go thumped 5-0 against Sunderland, and they've conceded the most goals out of any team in the league. So if you think we've got defensive problems, now bear in mind, he has a squad that's just got relegated with a lot of firepower. So he's probably won a couple of games on the virtue of the team he's inherited.
Couple of last-minute winners in there.
You what?
Couple of last-minute winners in there as well.
Yeah, quite a few actually.
Yeah, and a dodgy penalty against Norwich when they made it 4-4. That was late on as well.
Yeah,
Ryan Manning's already being scapegoated.
I saw that. Yeah.
Wonder if Woods looked at that result, and when they played on before the rest of the league, didn't they? It was on.
Yeah, they were open at night against Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, do you mean on the weekend? Sorry, on the opening.
Yeah, on the weekend.
Oh, right.
I think were they early kick off with us?
Yeah, they really kick off with us, weren't they? Yeah.
Wonder if obviously Wood had not had the best game. Wonder if he looked at that result now and think, I need to sort myself out because. Could have been worse. Could have been thumped 5-0 by Sunderland.
Yeah.
It's quite funny because I think they tried buying like a few of their forwards, didn't they, the night before, and then they come down and...
Well, succeeded with one of them, Stewart. That was like a 10 mil, 11 mil.
And then they're like, Stewart, we can still score 5.
And some random 16-year-old midfielder became their youngest ever goal scorer last. But did you see, I don't know who it was who crossed the ball, and there was some 19-year-old as well. Like, have you seen the fifth goal? He did like 3, I don't know what spins they were called. Someone, the 3 on the bounce, 19, and then back post, 16-year-old header.
Yeah. Neymar would be proud.
Took the neck out of the ball is the point. I thought, wow.
Bradley Dack scored. He's usually injured, so fair play.
Yeah, I think Sunderland will be like floating around there again, won't they? I think.
Yeah.
They'll be, I think they'll be.
They'll be a threat, definitely.
10. Yeah.
They're an exciting one, like all youngsters.
Yeah, definitely on the up and they after their heavily documented downfall. So that's nice for them. Okay, this is the main the main bit then. We'll see how long this takes. Hopefully we won't be too long because it is very warm. But transfer window obviously is finished. Very big transfer deadline day. A lot of action, which is unusual maybe for Swans fans. I think it was quite weird because the penultimate day, there was a lot of negativity, of course, where everyone was going nuts because obviously Joel Pro hadn't been replaced, and some people who were in the know, in the inverted quotation marks, were saying it's going to be a quiet window for Swansea or quiet deadline day, and it really wasn't. It seemed like they were trying everywhere to get players. They had a long list of people they were interested in and asking questions, making bids, some that didn't come through, but I think we made 4 signings on the last day, if I'm correct, which brings our total incomings for the season to 13. Now, I'll just remind everyone who we lost, and that is loans ending / contracts ending last season. Matty Sorinola, Luke Cundle both left because their loans expired. Ryan Manning and Latabodia obviously left because their contracts ran down. We all knew about them a long time ago. Luke Cundle is the one that stands out to me, though. He's banging the goals in for Plymouth. That would have been one I would have liked to have seen return.
He
And
scored a screamer for Plymouth as well on the weekend.
Makes me wonder if Russell Martin didn't get the best out of him, but that's another conversation potentially. Then obviously we've got Joel Perot, Michael Obafemi, who technically left this window permanently because it was a loan in January, and we got the fee for him this window. Morgan Whittaker, Stephen Bender, which was a late departure we discussed on the last podcast. Oliver and Cham, Kyle Joseph, and Andrea Sondergaard, who I think actually his contract expired, so I should have had him in the other list as well. And then a couple went out on loan, Brandon Cooper, Josh Thomas and Joel Cotterill. Josh Thomas, for me, the one to watch there about how he gets on this season. Any thoughts on any of those players before we go on to the incomings? And that's just a reminder to say maybe where we need to look at replacing them.
Well, just the loan. I'd echo your words of Josh Thomas. The one annoying thing, Harrison, who I tweeted at Port Vale was going to be his expected strike partner. I thought Harrison, he's very good with hold-up play. Josh Thomas would run on in behind. He's now left. So I don't think he's actually been starting the first few games. He's been more of an impact sub. So I am obviously watched Port Vale. And then the players who have left, I'll touch on him more when we get to the incomings, like Rushworth. But Bender, I was gutted about that, him leaving, because I honestly saw him as a long-term number one for us. And Whittaker, I said at the time, was on $1 million for him. I think he could get 10 goals, 10 assists for them. The way they'll play, he'll be their focal point. So yeah. I think that they could easily sell him on again to someone looking for top 6 for $5 million come next summer. So I'd hope we have a sell-on clause there.
It's one of them when he perhaps didn't want to be here, and maybe we should have cashed in on January, really.
Yeah.
Or left him where he was and benefited from him now.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, it begs the question, if you got Janelli, I thought if we needed to play wingers, I thought they'd complement each other quite well. Janelli on one wing, Whittaker on the other. But
yeah, it's strange because, obviously, I think Russ Martin didn't want him, or didn't want to play him. We don't really know what the situation was there. But then you thought he'd get a fair crack with Duff coming in, but he probably, I think you're right. I think he probably made his mind up that he wanted to go back to Plymouth. And at that point, after the bit of the fuss in January, but yeah, I think in the way that we think Duff wants to play, I think he could have been, it could have suited him. But there we go. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's going to be good this season. He's started well.
Yeah,
I think he felt a bit messed around by Martin, maybe.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah,
and I think Martin didn't use him enough when he came back, because I think he was doing it out of protest of his lack of backing that he was so vocal about, and everyone loves to remind me. And people who moan about the Whittaker departure but then support Russell Martin and his lack of backing from the board, I don't think you can have both opinions, personally. I think it was Martin that underused Whittaker, not the board. He was brought back to replace Obafemi. Maybe the club didn't want to spend at the time. That's a different conversation. They brought back Whittaker and he didn't use him. That's the bottom line. Our ban that we put in place last video to stop talking about Russell Martin's gone very well. Well, it's only because of the Twitter stuff.
I know. It is. It just keeps coming back.
It needs to be addressed. People need to move on, and then we move on.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go into the incomings. Okay, let's start with Jerry Yates. And what we're going to do here, we're all going to give him a ranking out of 10. And I want to kind of be a combination, because it's hard to judge some of them. So it needs to be, what we've seen so far is obviously part of it. but also maybe the impact you think they can have on the team. So look at their fee and look at what you think they could bring or have brought and give them a ranking out of 10 based on that. Some of them might be quite tricky, and then you might sit in the middle, which is fine because could work, maybe won't, low risk potentially, but could have a high reward. And other ones, they might be either end of the spectrum, but just be honest, I guess, and we'll see how our views line up, and it'll be quite interesting to discuss. So Jerry Yates then, who wants to go first?
Lee, go for it.
Go on, Lee.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been back and forward Jerry Yates, to be honest, because he's obviously a goal scorer. He's had 2 chances for us and scored. I think he's only had 2 chances. He's taken the 2 chances. But then I think, like, generally what I've seen, I think he's quite quiet, isn't he? But I don't know whether he needs the service. So I don't know if I'm being a bit harsh, but I think he gets knocked off the ball a lot. I think he got knocked off the ball for his cup game, but like the Bournemouth winner. And then I thought he was really, really quiet against Bristol City. So I'm gonna give him a 7 for now, because I think he is a goal scorer.
Okay. 7 for Lee.
Yeah.
What about
I
you, Ben?
would have said 8 personally,
8
just
for
because I think in the market this summer, price of strikers was mental. Who was it? Leicester just spent 7.5 million on Tom Cannon. That was based off of like 20 games last season. He did do well for Preston, I'm not saying, but I think for the fee we paid, I know Kyle Joseph went the other way, so it's about 3 million-ish. I think we ended up lumping out. But no, I disagree slightly on his hold-up play. I think for his size, keep in mind he's 5'9", I believe. He does sort not like Perot levels, but he can sort of back into his man for a second to bring someone else into play. But I've given him an 8. I think he'll for the next 3 years probably bag 10 to 15 goals a year, which will repay the amount. There won't be a resale value though. If he was 22, we wouldn't have had him, would we? Let's be honest. He would have gone to a Leicester or maybe even like lower Premier League as like to be loaned back out. So yeah, he probably ends up leaving for a minimal amount of 3 when he's 30, but in the next few years he'll repay it. So 8 out of 10, I'd say.
Yeah, I've gone for an 8 as well, just based on the fact of his cost for what he output last year, which was 14 goals. If he's got 2 already, so you'd say he'd at least match that. And I think the fee we paid for him for a plus 10 goal striker in the Championship is a good return. Whether he starts every game or whether he becomes someone that comes in and out, depending on how the other guys get on, I still think, like you said, some of the fees that were paid for players in this league, like Perot even, was he like 10 million plus less than what Perot went for? But technically not 10 goals less. So
I am hopeful that he will. I think he will come good when they get it right. When he gets service, he's a finisher.
Yeah. Okay, so average score 7.6 for Yates. Josh Key then, Ben.
Josh Key, 9, I would say. I think I called Key as my favourite signing when he came in, and that's proven to be the case. Just because, this isn't me having to go lat-board you. On the very off chance he's listening to a Swans podcast, you did fine in the position that you were pigeonholed into. But having a centre-back at wing-back, especially in that system where wing-backs are so important last year, it was infuriating, wasn't it? It's mental we didn't get caught out of injuries a bit more. So having Key now, I think I saw an infographic, top 5 ball carries so far this season in the league, when you consider how poor we've been doing as well. He's so energetic, takes on his man brilliantly. He's still young as well, so there's even a potential that you get a decent fee for him in a couple of years if he does, get interested higher up the league. It's hard to really see much of a downside to him, to be honest. I put 9 just because, 10 is probably difficult to reach, isn't it? But brilliant signing.
Lee?
Yeah, I got 9 written down for Key as well. I think he's been brilliant, especially because he's playing out of position as well, I think, on the left. So I think he's been brilliant. And not sort of similar players, but in terms of like that energetic sort of style, reminds me a bit of Connor Roberts. Like, and I mean, he's got that thing where he'll just bomb forward and get back, as if he's just like loving playing football just up and down that wing. So yeah, I think like signing him on a permanent at such a young age as well, I think is exciting. I think he's only going to get better. I had 9 for that as well.
I did 8.5, much for the same reasons. I think he's still raw in some places, but is the price again that we paid for him, the fact that he's developing, he looks really exciting, and you definitely see he's going to learn and do really well, and hopefully he can get on the right side of the pitch soon for what he prefers, and we'll see more out of him. But he's definitely somebody that's going to bring us a bigger fee in the future, and we're going to be disappointed to lose, but understand that he's one of them assets that needs to get moved on. He's one of them buy low, develop, sell high players, and it is going to happen down the line. And unless we go up at some point.
Looks like it's been in the pipeline for a while as well, because he's like, I know he was linked with us a couple of times, isn't he, even before this season. So
I think Matt Grimes might find a good word, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
The link.
Josh Ginelli then. Ginelli.
I've put 8.5 just he's on a free, honestly. Like, I think, obviously, up front is not his natural position. That's likely where he'll play for us. But I think it's really difficult to find that sort of natural, physical ability he's got. Getting behind, he's fast. He is very fast. Like, if we do end up playing that way, what his goal output ends up being, I don't know. He scored the screamer against, was it Cambridge or Northampton? Sorry, I missed that game. Northampton. Just like, good age. Not really a lot else to say. On a free transfer, it's hard to knock down somebody on a ranking there, isn't it?
So it is 7.5, yeah?
8.5, I would say, actually.
8.5.
Just take him out, where's our pace, I guess, would be my point.
Yeah, I put him as a 7, mainly because, again, free transfers, that's good. I think he's definitely going to offer something to the team. I'm just not quite sure with the system that we've so far used, how we're going to get the best out of him. Kind of what you was just saying. So he's a good sign-in, just not sure if he was a sign-in ideally for the system. You want the options, I guess.
Yes, that's a fair point. But also now we do have the option, as we saw on the Bristol City game, to try and move the wings, even if when we're playing someone else out of position there, aren't we?
Yeah, he's just not someone that you can see yet. He's going to start every game week in, week out, and be like that first name on the team sheet. But that's not necessarily his fault, is what I'm saying. But I would like to see more of him, definitely. I've said many times I think we should start 4-3-3 and go forward with that, because I think we've looked better a few times when he's changed in some of the earlier games. And then that would perhaps suit him more if that change did become more permanent at some point. But we'll see where that goes.
I could be wrong, but do we think, like, we had, I know I banned myself, but I know we had Russell Martin, and he had his style of play, and it was fitting the players in to play the way that he wants. From when we had, like, Steve Cooper was like, these are the players that we've got, and he sort of jigged it around for a bit until he found a system that he liked. I know we heard from the Barnsley fans about, like, what Duff was like, but do we think, like, you seeing what players he's got, like, he's going to try different things until he finds something that works, or do you think he has, like, a style, or do we think because Cooper went on to play something different then, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's been quite set with his formation, I think.
Yeah.
What they're starting off as. There's been changes, but the changes have always seemed to be because of chasing the game or not winning the game.
He's always ran 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 at his old clubs. I think that's his favourite, obviously. But when
he started off at Cheltenham or something, he did do 4 for a while, but he changed, and then he hasn't gone back since.
Fair enough. So it looks like we're going to stick with that. Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
But I had an 8 for Ginelli as well. I think like, because he was injured in pre-season, wasn't he? And I think he said in one of his interviews that he's not quite up to where the rest of the squad is in terms of fitness. But what I've seen of him, I think he's been quite exciting. Like the goal he scored against Northampton, and then he came off a bench against West Brom, and he looked really sharp. Like, I think there was a couple of times where he almost got through, and I think, like, just one bad touch or like a little nick of the defender where he was through a couple of times. So what I've seen, I think, is quite exciting. So if he gets fit, then I'm quite optimistic about that one.
He'll do better when we're not chasing games all the time, because teams will sit back against us. If we're playing the way that Duff is trying to build, which should be quite direct, especially on the change of game where maybe you're on the counter a bit and he gets a bit of space to run into, that's where you're going to see the best out of him. Definitely. Josh Timon then. Timon, please correct me with any of these names.
No clue.
No idea.
Let's see what Kev John says and then do the opposite.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lee, go on.
No, go on.
Because it's hard. We haven't seen him play yet, have we? But I put 7.5. But was it foreseeable? That's a good Twitter account I follow. He gave like his opinion on him. Seems to be someone who's more suited to wing back than full back. I think I was speaking to a couple of Stoke fans. That seems to be the reason why he was a bit out of the team, because they were the back four. Seems to be good getting up and down the line, but a bit short defensively. But hopefully, if Humphreys, who we'll get on to in a second, as a left centre back, may make up for it. So I put him down to 7.5. The only reason I'm, a bit iffy about the signing, it was quite expensive potentially for someone who isn't like a world beater at this level. But I think he'll come in. He's 24, so we'll have him for a number of years. Hopefully, he'll do a consistent job. That's all we really want from a left wing back.
I put 8 because I thought it addresses the left back, which we have had a concern for a while. I've heard quite exciting things about him, and I think wing back definitely is going to suit. If they can get a solid defence behind him and allow him to maybe do what Josh Key is doing, and then you've got Josh Key the other side, it should really help us creatively and going forward. But we'll see. It's early to say, especially because we haven't seen anything. And I guess it's one of them permanent transfers that we haven't fixed the hole at left back with a loan. We've actually got someone in, so that's a positive as well. But what do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I had 7, similar to you boys. I think I heard that he was, really good going forward and not so good defensively either. But I think if we want those full backs, if we want them to play in the way that we want them to play, then I think we need to have someone that's very good at getting forward, like Manning was last season. I think we need someone like that. And like you said, if you can push, if that means that Key can have a few more games on the right, then I think that's a good signing for me.
Yeah, I don't think Manning was always the best defensively, especially in his first season under Russell.
No, he was good going forward, though, wasn't he? Especially
exactly. Year. So if you can get that sort of going again, then we'll all be better for it. Now, Christian Pedersen, I've gone a bit lower here, but mainly because it just isn't. I guess it's a good squad player. Maybe he'll come straight in and start every game for the rest of the season. We'll see. But I did 6. He's a good experience. 6 isn't a bad score. It's above half. Experienced championship player. He's going to come in and do a job and hopefully be solid at the back. But he's not like singing or dancing, shouting. One of the massive deals that gets you excited, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I put 5. If I'm honest with you again, it's like I don't see him being first choice. I'm sure he'll bring some experience, but it's a bit worrying. That's the sort of signing we make, because I know we probably had the whole debate of, what's our style of play going to look like? Are we tearing up the philosophy again? He isn't somebody. I'm saying it's not somebody we normally sign. We had Jake Bidwell, and we were interested in Jake Bidwell again. I feel like we sort of panicked and just wanted someone left-footed as well as.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't think he'll be particularly bad, but I don't think he's gonna. I'd be surprised if he plays more than like 15 league games this year, put that way.
Is he basically the return of Bennett?
That's a bit harsh. I think he's probably got a bit more pace about him than that, I'd hope.
I thought Bennett was class under Cooper. He just really didn't suit Martin. I think Bennett didn't want to change either. He was just like, nah, mate, I'm going to kick it up into row Z. I'm not passing this around. If it's coming to my goal, I'm getting rid.
In the middle of the back 3, that never really left much beyond this 18-yard box. Bennett was fine, but there's a reason he's in League One now, and it is just the fact for most defences at this level, you can't turn quick enough, and he's sort of.
Yeah.
It's not like he's a bad footballer. He's a Premier League footballer. It's just everyone's bodies. It happens at some point, doesn't it? For him, it happened maybe a bit earlier than most.
Yeah, Norton's next on that list, I think. I was surprised to see him start the other day.
I was surprised.
He did well. Yeah,
but I think the defensive recruitment might mean we won't see too much more of him.
If Nathan Wood keeps playing like that, then maybe.
Well, I'm not surprised to see Darling dropped, but maybe all 3 of them are droppable.
None of them played well. It was weird because they have played. That was the back 3 in it. They have played a lot of football together, so I don't know what exactly happened. It's not like 2 new centre backs have come in.
Yeah, they were all over the shop, weren't they?
Lee Pedersen then.
Yeah, I had 5 as well, to be honest. Like I said, it's not one that's particularly exciting, but then thinking about what we were just talking about, I think maybe we do need different options to what we've got. Like I think we do need a bit more stability at the back. I know we like to play out from the back as well, and we've got to have players that can play, but sometimes we've got to be able to defend better than we have been. So maybe it's just another option to have. But yeah, I just put it as 5 for now.
Okay, Nikola Kuharevic.
6.5.
Butchered that name, but.
6.5. Yeah, most people butcher that name. I think what I was surprised to read, he's one that's seen more for the future, which I didn't know. I thought he'd be one that comes in and starts a bit more.
I think he said it to take the pressure off him, personally.
Maybe. The reason I got 6.5 is a bit of a blend. I don't think he's particularly cheap, and it is similar to a couple of our other signings. I think if he's not going to play a lot right now, that's not a cheap amount of money for us to splash on someone. But just like between his highlights, can't really go off highlights, but seeing him in person as well, he reminds me of very few target men in that he's got quite a good athletic profile, but then still got that height as well. He's not slow at all.
Haaland, you mean?
Haaland. Wouldn't that be wonderful? No. I think it'll be a slow season for him, but I think it's a potential next year. He could start coming good. I just don't see it happening quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I got him as a 6. I think he's just come back from a bad injury as well, to be fair to him. So, obviously didn't get pre-season really with us. And Luke, man. Duff has said, it's all the people talking about him. Duff has said that he obviously is getting still up to speed like some of the other guys. He's been coming off the bench the last few games. And I think Perot leaving, I don't know who, because obviously we'll talk about Jamal Lowe as well, but I wouldn't say both them striker slots. It looks like Yates at the moment is going to keep starting, but I feel like they are both up for grabs if anyone does put performances in. So there's a couple of them fighting for 2 positions, essentially, and if he comes on a few times and makes an impact, there's no reason why he can't force himself into the first team more frequently.
Yeah, he's not scared to sub Yates either, which I thought was interesting to see. I thought he'd be because how much he runs, I thought he'd be 90 minutes, but it don't seem that way at the minute.
Yeah. I think that's why I had Yates a little bit lower, but I think I was being a bit harsh, but I think he will come. He will come, but that's probably why I had him a bit lower, because I think, like you said, I think there's a couple of options there now where we may see a game where Yates doesn't start. He does take him off, so maybe there might be a game, but I'm sure he'll start scoring at some point. But I had him as a 6 as well. I think I was really surprised when I saw he was tall, and I saw his stature. I thought, he's just going to be a target man, but then, like you said, I've seen some highlights of him, and then I think it was the Preston game where he just run through and brought this ball off his chest and hit it with his left. It was literally like Haaland-esque. If he put that goal in, we'd still be talking about it. It was so good. So I think, maybe I think you're right though. I wouldn't think we'll see him a lot this season. Maybe off the bench now and again. Maybe, I don't know if he maybe gets a start somewhere. But I don't think we'll see a lot of him. But hopefully
he has put a few in for the youth team, so
Yeah,
I think there's potential that we'll see him, maybe more in the second half of the season. When he gets up to speed now, he's definitely be an option. I think that we'll see. There's 2 striker positions, and he could sub both in a match. So 4 strikers in a game. He could. I don't know. We'll see. And some of his first touches have been quite impressive, to be fair. Nathan Choa on then. I've gone for a 5, simply because I'm just straight on the middle. He could be really good. Lower fee, I think, not the biggest. We do need left-sided players. He's obviously coming on a permanent, but we haven't seen anything of him yet to really say how he's going to get on. I don't want him to be another Ogbeta, who's still here apparently, which I forgot. But we've had a left-sided player all this time. I don't want him to be another Ogbeta. He did well last season, obviously at his club in Holland, Netherlands. We'll see where it goes. I don't think we're going to see loads of him now with signed Timon. Kev Johns needs to get on the tannoy. But yes, I don't know what you think, Lee, of Choa on.
Yeah, just quickly, I had 5. Just because I'm with you. When we signed him, I thought, here we go, we've got a young left, because I didn't know a lot about him, to be honest. I thought, here we go, we've got a left-sided player. Yeah, a young player, maybe he's good. And then we haven't really seen him. He played 1 game for the under-21s, didn't he? And I thought, I expected him to come and make an appearance. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I was worried he was going to maybe be one of them players that just is here for a while then and doesn't really do much. But we'll see. I could be wrong. I still don't know much about him. Yeah, well, I still don't know much about him, to be honest. So it's we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I also went a 5 simply because I think the money we've
all agreed on.
I know the money we shelled out on is, I don't exactly know what it is. I go on a website, Transfer Market, which is normally all right. It says about 350,000, and then when I go on now, it said about 1 million. So maybe it's 350,000 potentially rising to 1 mil with,
maybe with the add-ons.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, like Lee said, signed him. I thought there's a left wing back, and then I'm reading, he'd be more like a left centre back in the back 3, and I was like, and yeah, I don't even know if we're really going to see him this season. He's seen as more one for the future. I don't know how that happens, mind. If he's played 20 times in the Eredivisie,
Yeah.
and he's happy to come here and just sort of,
Well, he was the first one signed, so maybe he wasn't.
It's odd.
Now
And
he's
then
like,
they signed.
oh, what's going on?
He signed
But
Tim on from Stoke as well. It's a weird. So it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, but I was thinking, because Pedersen left back as well, isn't he, technically? But I wondered if he sees Pedersen more as a left centre-back now.
he definitely does. Yeah, this is why I don't think Choahon's really going to play at all. Like,
So you think he's going to be left back then, Pedersen, not left centre-back?
no, I think he'll be left centre back as well. I don't think Choahon will be anything this season. I've got 5 just because I honestly don't know how you rank him. I think he's just one for the future. And he'll maybe have bit part appearances off the bench here and there in the back 3.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, I think he's going to be second choice left back to Timon, but then where does that leave Abdullah as well? You've got Key and Ashby fighting for one place. Does one of them start ahead of Choahon, even on the opposite flank? Like, we've gone from no wing back options to can't fit them all in, so I guess that's better than having no one.
I think Abdullah is out for 3 months, but also he isn't a wing back, is he? I think he was going to get a start, presumably at wing back, but I would like to see him in the middle at some point in his Swans career. When that is, I don't know, because we got options there currently, haven't we? But
I would have liked him to have gone on loan on the last day of the season. He probably wouldn't be injured right now if that happened.
no.
I'm sure he got injured against Bournemouth, or he was holding his hamstring for ages against Bournemouth, and they didn't take him off
Yeah,
because I think they might have used all the subs. And then when they said he got injured in training, I was skeptical. But then Duff did say, in all fairness, like you said, he did say that he was going to start him against Bristol City, didn't he? He did say he was fighting for a start.
Really?
So
yeah, he was set to start, and then
Who's going to drop Ashby?
no,
Maybe because Ashby got subbed at half time. Ashby's been subbed in every game so far.
he was awful in that Bristol City game, though.
I haven't been impressed. We'll get on to him in a minute. Nathan Broom, I've gone 4, but that's just because I think, is he ever going to play? Not at the moment.
I've done the same as you. 4, nothing against the guy. I'm sure he's all right, but because just like Sondergaard, there's been loads of keepers over the Bergetti, or whatever his name was, the Aussie boy. You sign, we sign keepers, and then unless something drastically goes wrong, probably won't.
Mulder was in that category until he finally played, and he's alright actually. To be fair,
we've had worse. We've had worse.
Yep.
Lee.
Yeah, I had 4 as well. Not much to add on that either.
Well,
I was full house there.
Straightforward one. Okay, here we go then. Interesting loan signings. Charlie Patino, I've gone with a 9 because I think he's made an instant impact. 3 assists in 4 games. Probably going to be sad when he goes.
Yeah. So went with a 9. I think the only thing keeping me from like a 9.5 is just physically. I think he could. It's difficult to find the right midfield balance of him is my issue. Grimes, as good as he is, his weakness has always been off the ball. If he was better off the ball, he would have been in the Premier League a few years ago. Patino, I can't remember who he was chasing after, but tracking back, you could see he's not the fastest eye. But I think you can't put Joe Allen in the midfield 3 of them, which is annoying because we will get over. And I think if you're playing Patino and Grimes, you do need someone like, maybe not necessarily even Cooper, but Fulton, just someone to break up the play to complement them. So Patino does sort of limit who we can play with, but that isn't really anything against him as a player. That's just our squad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of Matt Grimes, right? So I was watching Benjamin Bloom the other day. He does his podcast with former player Sam Parkin. I'm not sure if anyone knows who Sam Parkin is.
I know the name.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where this would have been. He spoke basically about somebody asked him in the comments. I'll do a quick Google. Who is the most impressive debut you've ever been on a pitch for? So you got asked that question. It must have been at
Exeter, probably.
Exeter, yeah. Because, there we are. So Sam Parkin ended his career at Exeter, 2013-2014. And that's probably when Matt Grimes was coming through the ranks just before we signed him, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And he said Matt Grimes was the best debut he'd ever been on a pitch for, basically. And he'd never seen a young player with so much technical ability. So I thought it was quite interesting to hear randomly on the Benjamin Bloom podcast. So that was a nice little shout out for Matt Grimes. He's basically saying how he didn't understand how a Premier League team had not come in for him, and all he could imagine was they're seeing some sort of risk aspect of signing him that they just don't want to fork out, but he just couldn't understand it, basically.
I think the only way he gets out is with us now, 28 4-year deal. Like, the thing is, Premier League's ruthless. Flynn Downs went up. I know he's not the same as Rice, but Rice has left. They brought in 3 midfielders and loaned him out to Southampton. People seem to think Downs has barely put a foot wrong. It's so difficult to break into that league, even at that age. So
just one of them, I guess. Maybe missed up. You look back on his career and think what could have been. Moving on from. Oh, sorry, Lee, you didn't give a Patino score.
I didn't. Not much more to add than you boys. I had 9 as well, but he looks. I think if we can get it right as well, we can. He looks a cut above. So if we can find the formula to get him on Grimes, and I think we could be dangerous. But we'll see.
Okay, Bashir Humphreys. Now, we spoke earlier. I don't know an awful lot about him, but it's got to say a lot that he's got called up to the full England squad. So I put 8 just because he hasn't kicked the ball yet, but obviously he's got a lot of potential to be maybe Mark Geehy-esque for us.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Lee? I've gone first a few times.
Yeah, I had 8.5 on this one. The only reason I didn't go 9 was because we haven't seen him kick a ball yet. But I think like what I've heard, and then obviously he's been called up to the England squad. It's an exciting one. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
At the risk of looking foolish, I went 10 just because.
Oh,
yeah,
genuinely. I like it.
Simply because
confident.
Gareth Southgate has been on record as saying to players, "You need to play Premier League football to get in my squad." When is the last time a Championship footballer, even if it's only like the training camp, has been in the senior England squad? I could look foolish. I could be recent. Who knows?
Maybe it's one of the goalkeepers. When did Jack Butland get relegated? Was he still getting called up?
So it's okay. We phrase it outfield players.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think. Oh, that's pre-Southgate, wasn't it?
Pickford,
pre-Southgate, but
I know
just in general, isn't it?
I know it was West Brom summer, but yeah, point being is it's rare, isn't it?
It's rare.
He was set to play a part for Chelsea this season. He started, I should point out, every single pre-season game for them. He was on the bench for them in the league. The fact that they held out till deadline day, I think the only reason it came off is because one other loan move for somebody else fell through, like an outgoing. So they had, they didn't need that many players. So yeah, I think 2-footed. You'll end up on the left or back 3. I mean, Stuart James, who he probably knows people who are in the know on his ability. He was calling out for weeks how good he is, how highly rated he is. Watch how he'll start against Cardiff. He'll have a shocker after giving him a 10. Actually watching him play.
I was thinking Gay. Remember when he started, didn't he, against Hull? Wasn't it? I think was it the 4-4 game, and he was absolutely all over the shop, wasn't he? And then he came class then. So I'm excited about that one though. It seems like he's got a lot of noise around him.
I should point out while we're on him, to be fair, we're having the whole debate on Twitter. I think me and some Cardiff fans on deadline day, because we were set to go for Jonathan Panzo when we pulled the plug on that, went for Pedersen. It looked like what's his name, Paul Abendonart or however you pronounce it. Saying Cardiff shouldn't be able to pull this out. Swansea gave a cash offer, this, that, the other. Became clear then we pulled the plug to go for an England senior squad centre back. So that was why all that happened. The Cardiff fans are still taking it as a win, which is a bit annoying if we're all being honest with ourselves, because I don't think that is actually the way the day panned out, the way that it's being reported on, at least.
They haven't had much to celebrate lately, have they? So
well, they had more than us the last few weeks, Luke, I think.
Yeah.
I just meant in terms of the rivalry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think if you're 10 years old, you've never seen Cardiff beat Swansea if you're a Cardiff fan. That's slightly mental.
It's great start, that is.
2013, Stephen Corker. That's the last time, or am I wrong? Beating us.
Did they beat
beat
us into
yeah,
Cooper, didn't they?
Flint scored in COVID.
Nah, lockdown, don't count.
Yeah, fair, yeah. No, you're right. You haven't actually seen it in the stadium, yeah.
Let's
That's fair.
That clarification out there before you get.
I know. Yeah, obviously we had that.
That's a good start, though. I like that.
I like that one too. So, Jamal Lowe. Lee, do you want to go first on this one as well?
Yeah, I don't know if this is a bit low, but I got a 6. A bit low. I didn't think of that, but it's just
Boom.
I got a 6. I have. I hope I'm proved wrong, but I always think like never go back. I know like it has worked. Like with Britain come back and Joe Allen. But no, I don't know. I just think like Lowe is sort of, he went and then he hasn't done a whole lot for Bournemouth, and now he's coming back. I don't know what state he's in. I hope he comes back and tears it up again. Maybe in this system he picks up again like he did with Cooper, but I put it just at a 6 for now, just because I'm not really sure what player we're getting back. Obviously, I want him to be the player that left because he was good. I thought he was good for us and the Cooper. So, but I just put a conservative 6 on that one.
Said he's got unfinished business, didn't he? I've given him a
Yeah.
7. I have, because I think he's like one of them again where we know about him. We know he's got 10 plus goals a season if he wants to put it out there. Maybe you could go the other way though, where it doesn't quite work. But it's a loan,
Yeah.
so it's not a risk, really. Ben?
Yeah, I also went 6. I think unfinished business. I'll leave him out of that. 'Cause I think the reason he left is Russell Martin came in and the style of play didn't suit him. If being honest, he isn't a player that's sort of like comfortable in possession, maybe as you'd want your strikers to be. But now, obviously, Russell Martin's gone. Probably suits him a lot more. But one issue I've seen, supposedly, his pace has gone a bit in the couple of years since he's been gone. So, like, what sort of role does he play? I think he'll be a decent enough option. Interesting now that they've given him just for a year. Bournemouth have his contract runs out in a year, so he's available on a free at the end of the season if he does do well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
I'd imagine that's the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think he sets the world alight for us, but if he can just sort of provide a constant sort of option, yeah, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Harrison Ashby.
I put 7 just because I think he is going to do better, and as the season goes on compared to what we're seeing now, I think it's clear he's got the physical attributes to succeed. I'm not sure his awareness of where he needs to be or what's required of him in the game is quite there, but I think that's just because lack of experience. That is the point of a loan. If they were the finished article, we wouldn't be having them, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right.
I also think now, obviously, if this Tim Odden's a left wing back, I'd be a bit disappointed if Ashby is taking minutes away from Key, because Key, clearly with minutes, he's going to become a very good player. I think someone said, which is an interesting one, do you see Ashby ended up a right centre back at a certain point? We got enough of them, but I can see why they'd say it, the physical profile he's got.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, yeah, we'll see.
They'd expect him to play. I think if he don't play,
he got run around against Bristol, didn't he? So
he did get run around, but I think if we don't provide him with minutes, he does end up getting recalled in January, I'd imagine.
Well, I think he will get minutes because I think, I think Duff has been subbing on both wing backs quite frequently, because I think he wants them quite active in the system where they're running up and down a lot. He likes to have, maybe you could say it's the new winger in it in a way. He wants them up there. He wants them running up and making things happen up the top as well. Quite often, historically, your forwards, midfielders and wingers is where you use your 3 subs. You've got 5 available these days, so I'd imagine he's going to use quite a few in the wing-back areas. So I think the other options that are on the bench will get minutes regardless if they don't start, which you wouldn't usually say about a defender before.
Yeah.
So easier to keep him happy, I guess, with Newcastle. Lee?
I did have 5.5.
No, he's
That's
down
really
5.5 now.
It's really harsh. It is harsh. I think I let the last game rule my head a little bit on that one, but I think based on what Ben was saying, I really don't want him to be used in replacement of Key now that we've got a left back. If they've got to play him because they've got him from Newcastle, I don't want us to be tied with that, because I think I want to see Key play at right back because I think he's deserved it. And what I've seen from Ashby so far, I think he played well against Preston. He scored a really good goal, but apart from that, I haven't seen a whole lot. Now, I'm looking at it in terms of if that means the Key can't play because he's there, then it's not a good signing for us. But I think you're right. I think he will come good because he's not a bad player. There's no way he's a bad player playing for Newcastle. Apparently, he came really highly rated. But just so far, and then maybe if it stops Key having minutes, that's why I've got him quite low.
Yeah, I've got a 6 for Ashby. I think he maybe it's harsh because of the rep he's come in with. A lot of people were saying his fanfare when he joined, and I maybe expected more because of that than what I've seen. I hope that he can continue to improve, but there is competition in them wing-back areas now, and for me, Key has been more impressive, so should be starting ahead of him.
Be really interesting to see what he does next game now. Who starts the wing-backs? Be really interested to see what he does.
It will indeed, and I'd imagine we'll start seeing a bit of rotation in areas as well going forward. Last one then, Carl Rushworth. I'm going to start off and say I've given him a 6 as well. I just don't think he's been... I've seen a few mistakes that people have really criticised Fisher for making that he's also done. For him to come straight in, the confidence of a manager to say you are my number one, and yeah, he's young, and yeah, it's early days, and I'm sure he'll improve, but you can't just give him a free pass when you're giving the other guy so much grief. That's what I think, anyway. He's made some good saves, but he's also made some howlers with the possession of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one I thought was going to be really controversial. I went 5. That isn't, there does need to be like a little asterisk next to it, but simply because I've sort of had to take into account the fact that Stephen Bender wouldn't sign a new deal, right? That's been said publicly. But that's because he can't see a route back into the team when he comes back from injury at the turn of the year. If I was in the position of signing players, I would have had someone on a year deal, tried to bring Bender back in just to take a long-term approach, because I would have seen Bender as our first choice in the years to come. He's only, he's 24, which is young for a keeper. He would have got better. We're now left in a position where come the summer, we got Nathan Broom, who, let's be real, probably won't be ready. Fisher, I don't know if his deal's up, or if it's not up, he won't be number one. Rushworth going back to his parent club. We're going to have to go out and either loan another keeper again, which is very difficult to do because you've got 15 clubs going for the same guy from League One probably, or you're going to have to go out and buy someone. But keepers are, they're really expensive, as Premier League clubs often show at the time. Like Pickford, he was 30 million. You're going back, how long ago was that now? 6 years ago, something like that. How much would he be worth now at Premier League level? So at our level, you are genuinely looking, if you want someone who's like young, which is our model, to improve over time, you're looking, 5 million, possibly.
But that's what Fisher's meant to be here for, young and improve over time, and he is still young.
I think he was brought in because he was like one of the ones who would be more comfortable in possession of Russell Martin's football.
Yeah.
But now that Russell Martin's gone, he doesn't have the physical attributes to command his area, shots and range, just in general, catching ability.
I agree. I do agree with those points, but I don't also think that Rushworth has been night and day better. Is what I would say. I haven't seen there was one or two things in the first couple of games. He made an error in one of them, didn't he? That led to a goal directly.
Birmingham first game, wasn't
it? Yeah. So ultimately, we would have had a win.
I do just have to hope that those mistakes get ironed out because of how well he's been reported on, how well. But it weren't even just like Lincoln fans is a thing. It's just EFL pundits in general that they all rave about him. So I think everyone, especially at his age, he's going to have a period where he doesn't play well. It's just, does he come through it? It's like I said, it's difficult to do this rankings thing because there's only been 5 games max. Some of them we haven't seen players with.
We'll have to see how well we've done at the end of the season. That's the fun of it.
Like reassess in like January, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, come back and be like, no,
we'll do another one after the January window when we signed another 7.
Yeah, half of them have left because they didn't perform much.
Or when Ashby's the best wing back in the league and we're putting back 9 or 10.
And Yates has got like 20 goals by then.
And I don't know who we said. But Nathan Broom's our number one keeper.
Choa has come in and just torn up the league.
Well, we'll see in it. So what was your score for Rushworth, Lee?
I had a 6 for
6.
I keep wanting to say Ashworth because we talk about Ashby and it was Rushworth. I keep getting it wrong, but same as you. I think I'm not a big fan of like you said, like loan players. Like it's similar on the not that I'm not a fan of loan players, but I mean in detriment of your own of developing your own. Like I said with Ashby and Key, I'd like to have seen Bender be our number one. Like Ben said, I think it was when he came. Like I know he went out of the team and then Fisher came in, but when he came back in, he looked like the real deal to me. I think he was playing really well when he got injured. So then the fact that we brought in a lone keeper now and has lost Bender is disappointing. And again, like I think like shot stopping, he's been great, but distribution in general has been quite poor. I think. I mean, I was in West Brom and I think he had so many like passes into touch as like his distribution's been quite bad. But then he has got that threat of like I've seen he's got a monster throw, isn't he? Which he's been threatening a couple of times, but we haven't really seen it pan out. So maybe he will come good, but so far, not too excited on that one.
It is a shame, but Bender then sounds like the situation a bit mismanaged.
The injury didn't help. Oh,
He's
these iPads,
disappeared.
though.
That's all good. We're finished now
You'll be
anyway.
back in on his phone now, probably, won't he?
It's all good. I'm going to end in a sec anyway. But yeah, Bender's situation, a bit mismanaged. Yeah, I was gutted to see him go. I guess for him, if he thinks there's no guarantees of getting back into first team, he may as well sit on the bench at a Premier League club.
Yeah, I think if he never gets injured, he stays on number one, he signs a new deal. It's like a alternate universe sort of thing, isn't it? Not to be, but
Yeah,
not like he didn't have a mistake in him either. I just think for somebody of his height, his ability to command his box, one-on-one ability, distribution was underrated. I think the thing that probably let him down the most is handling.
Yeah.
He did have that in him, but I think with Margaretson as well, goalkeeper coach, it would have got ironed out, and we could have had like a really top goalkeeper. But oh well,
and
not
he's
to be.
still young as well. And if you're going to
Yeah.
have Rushworth in to develop, then it would have been the same situation, just with someone that was ours. But there we go. It's done. We need to move on. And I think we'll call it there for the end of the video. So I'll probably clip that out as a separate YouTube video as well as being included in the podcast. So, I mean, if you got this far, you've already seen it all. But yeah, just if you wanted to rewatch it, you wouldn't have to watch the whole thing again. Or if you're skipping forward on YouTube or Spotify or whatever, it will be available separately. We can revisit it in January potentially, or maybe the end of the season. But thanks very much for joining me, Ben. It's been a long one, so I'm going to just end this quite quickly. So
Thanks for having me.
past the 1:30, and obviously Lee has just had connection issues, which is fine because we're calling it a day now anyway. But thanks for him as well on behalf of him, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'm sure you'll be back again soon. And thanks for joining me, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
But we'll get you back on shortly. So it was good to chat to you, and always very informative. Maybe after the Cardiff game, be interesting to see what happens. And
Yeah, I'll be keen to come back on if we win. If not, I'm away.
Into hibernation.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so catch us in the next video. As always, don't forget to like the video, really massively helps the channel, and comment below all your ratings for the transfers. Who do you think will come good? Who do you think is your favourite person? And who are you not maybe so bothered about, or not that fussed that we've signed? Let us know in the comments, and we shall catch you in the next video. So thank you very much.